Hi, I'm John Murphy. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Venture Management Consultants. And for the last 28 years, I've been working with organizations all over the world on adopting and deploying world best practices in their businesses and organizations. In particular, using methodologies like Lean and Six Sigma and LeanSigma, the integration of the two, to really bring about incredible organizational change in their organizations. So on a recent phone call with the CEO of a startup company, uh, he asked me, could you summarize in 8 or 10 minutes just how you go about deploying it quickly for a startup company like ours? So this video is to simply walk you through how that looks. It all begins with a 2-day education session on Lean and on Six Sigma and on the history and the integration of Lean Six Sigma and LeanSigma. What does that mean? How does it work? Why is it important? And what impact might it have on my business? So in the first half a day of the 2-day session, it's a simulation that we run to show very common practices and paradigms in business today and how they actually get in our way. So in round one, we put good people in a bad system, to quote Edwards Deming, and system wins, no contest. It shows up in the metrics that we use. It shows up in the financials that we use for this simulation, and it looks somewhat like chaos, but it's very, very realistic. I can't tell you how many times over the years organizations I've been working with have said, wow, does round one ever look like the way we do things around here, our culture, our way? So in round two, we identify what we believe to be the constraint, and we begin to apply systems thinking. So when we start looking at a whole system, where's that one point in the system that's so critical? Okay, that's systems thinking. And what's interesting in round two is that it's not what it appears to be. It's not what it seems. So we go in and we do a point Kaizen or a point improvement on that one area that we think is the real problem or the root cause, the constraint, and it turns out that it's not. So that really wakes people up, and it takes us now into a third round where we break into teams and we actually compete to see who can really discover what the true root causes to the system's problems are and innovate a solution that is far beyond anything that's even imaginable in round one. Okay, just massive improvements. And the real secret to it is that we discover that it isn't adding that we need to do. We don't need to add more complexity, add more people, add more policy, add more training, add more measures. In fact, what we really need to do is eliminate a number of things, non-value added activities. Just get them out of the way and really apply lean thinking. So that's what we do in the first day of this 2-day training. And then in the second day, we start to evolve into the Six Sigma piece, which is really about reducing the variation and getting to a point where whatever it is we do actually need to do is done with precision, it's done with accuracy, it's done with reliability, and repeatability, and reproducibility. It's very consistent, very predictable. It's world class. So we use some little catapults. We sometimes call them statipults because we use them statistically to evaluate what really needs to change and how do we get that real precision. And we begin to integrate the Lean with the Six Sigma and get into how are we going to deploy this in the company that we're working for. Where are those key leverage points in the system? How do we apply systems thinking, theory of constraints, Lean best practices, Six Sigma best practices? And so we have a healthy discussion around what we need to focus on. And the key here is that we have good data to support us. So I'll often say, show me the data. Show me the data. Prove there's a problem. Let's use a model we call DMAIC, D-M-A-I-C. Let's define what the current state looks like. Let's measure it. And from those measurements, let's figure out where the brutal facts are, where the real undesirable effects are. let's take those into an analysis. And through the analysis, let's get down to the real leverage points, the real critical strategic root causes to the problems we have. It's frequently policy. It's frequently the measurements that we're using. It's frequently strategy or the lack thereof. All right, it's frequently design or the lack thereof of a good design. So we get right down to these key problem areas, and that's where the action is. So we're using DMAIC, we've defined, we've measured, we've analyzed. Now we go into improve and innovate, and we come up with much better ways to do whatever it is we're doing. And because we have a baseline measurement to start with, we will know if we've improved it. We will certainly know if we've made it any better in that improve and innovate phase. And then finally we move to C in DMAIC, which is control. We need to control whatever it is we've improved so that it doesn't go backwards. So that's the model we use, the DMAIC model, to deploy the Lean and Six Sigma, which we learn about in this workshop. And by the end of day 2, we have identified what it is we're going to go after. We've identified a team that's going to go after it. And so we take that team now into a 3rd day of planning using the DMAIC model. So for the next 30 days, what are we going to go after in terms of data collection? What data do we need to collect? Let's define it. Who's going to collect it? Let's define that. Where is it? How are we going to get it? How are we going to display it to make it interesting and meaningful? So we're right back to now applying DMAIC in a real setting, defining and measuring the current state. We do that for about 30 days. And then during that 30-day period, we're planning our first real Kaizen event. Now this is where we bring the team together. We bring the data, the define and the measure. We get into the analysis very quickly, figuring out where the real changes need to be made, and we make them. That's what makes Kaizen a Kaizen. I often say to people when they tell me they've had a Kaizen event, I ask, what did you actually change? And if the answer is that, well, we didn't change anything, but we discussed all kinds of great ideas, I tell them they didn't have a Kaizen event, they had a meeting. And we want to be careful with that, because when we start calling old practices new words, thinking we're actually making significant change, we're not. Not only are we losing credibility, but we're confusing people. So a Kaizen event is where we actually make good change in the event, and there's proof and measurement as a result of that. We can actually see that we cut cycle times in half. We've reduced inventories. We've turned inventories faster. All right, we've got a new design that we've launched that's eliminated half the steps that were in the old design or the old process model. Things like that. We've got new dashboards set up. We've eliminated a number of activities that just aren't relevant, aren't necessary, aren't value added. Those are very specific measures. In fact, at one Kaizen event that comes to mind was where we had over 100 different maintenance reports in a tax organization and a tax agency. And by the end of the Kaizen event, we'd cut it by over half. And in future Kaizen events, we continued to reduce those reports down to today there's only one. So we went from over 100 to one comprehensive maintenance report, as opposed to all of this redundancy and waste. That's a real effective Kaizen event. I've had people tell me over the years that they've been trying for years to get certain changes made, and what they just accomplished in a 3 or a 4 or a 5-day Kaizen event was taking them 7 years of getting nowhere. The difference is that if we meet for an hour a week or 2 hours a week or every other day for months and months and months, trying to improve something, we're losing momentum every time. Every time we break, there's white space, there's empty space, there's nothing happening space, so to speak, from the project's perspective. With Kaizen, we don't have that. With Kaizen, we come in, we're prepared, we've got the data, we do the analysis, we agree on the changes we need to make, and we make them right now. That's powerful. That's being the change you want to see in the world, to quote Gandhi. That's the real deal. So a quick summary of a fast, rapid deployment of Lean Six Sigma in an organization is, let's make sure we get the leadership team and the project team trained right up front. It's a good 2 days of experiential training, running simulations and really learning what it is that they're going to be applying. Preparing then for that first application, that first Kaizen, taking about 30 days to get ready for that, and then getting after it. And immediately following it, another month later with a second Kaizen, another month later with a third Kaizen. I recommend that you keep a pulse going like that, at least one Kaizen a month during the first year to really gain momentum, get progress made. So that's a quick summary of the exciting, culture-changing, transformational power, if you will, of using Lean Six Sigma or LeanSigma to really transform your culture and your systems, your structure, and the way you do things around here. So again, I'm John Murphy. That's just a quick summary. If I have any questions, send me a note at johnmurphy@venturemanagementconsultants.com. That's John Murphy at venturemanagementconsultants.com. Go to my webpage, www.venturemanagementconsultants.com, to learn more. I'd love to help. Take care. Thank you.